No one died in the Stanford Prison Experiment. But within 6 days, ordinary college students were humiliated, psychologically distressed, and pushed into roles that seemed to change how they saw themselves. The study was supposed to last 2 weeks. It did not survive one. In August 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo and his team built a fake prison in the basement of Stanford University's psychology department. They recruited healthy male college students and randomly assigned them to become either guards or prisoners. The prisoners were arrested at home by real police officers, searched, photographed, and taken to the mock prison. Their names were replaced with identification numbers. They wore smocks and chains around one ankle. The guards wore uniforms, carried wooden batons, and hid their eyes behind mirrored sunglasses. From the beginning, the message was clear. One group had authority, the other had almost none. By the second morning, the prisoners rebelled. They blocked their cell doors, removed their identification numbers, and mocked the guards. The guards responded by using fire extinguishers to force their way inside. Then the punishment became psychological. Prisoners were stripped naked, denied mattresses, forced to repeat their numbers, and made to perform exercises. Some guards used sleep disruption and humiliation to establish control. Not every guard behaved cruelly. Some remained passive, and others tried small acts of kindness. But the most aggressive guards set the tone. The prison began running less like a university study and more like an institution protecting its own power. One prisoner started screaming, crying, and demanding to leave. He was released after roughly a day and a half. Other prisoners later showed intense stress, emotional collapse, and helplessness. The strange part was that the exits were real. These men were volunteers. They were being paid to participate. Yet some appeared to forget that they could simply withdraw. Zimbardo was no longer only observing the prison, he had taken the role of superintendent. When people questioned the experiment, he often responded as though they were challenging his prison rather than his research. The person who finally broke through was psychologist Christina Masloch. After witnessing the prisoners being marched with bags over their heads, she confronted Zimbardo and called the situation unacceptable. The experiment ended on its 6th day. For decades, the lesson seemed obvious. Give ordinary people power, remove accountability, and cruelty can appear almost immediately. The Stanford Prison Experiment became one of the most famous studies in psychology. It appeared in textbooks, documentaries, classrooms, and films as proof that situations can transform good people into abusers. But decades later, a second experiment began. Researchers started investigating the original experiment itself. Archived recordings and participant interviews raised serious questions about how spontaneous the guards' behavior really was. The guards had not simply been placed inside a prison and left alone. They were told to maintain control and create feelings of fear and powerlessness. Later research argued that some received more precise guidance than the public story suggested. One participant who appeared to suffer a breakdown later said he had been acting because he believed it was the fastest way to leave. The study also lacked a proper control group, used a small and highly specific sample, and involved researchers who were actively managing the environment they claimed to be observing. That does not mean nothing happened. The distress was real, the humiliation was real, the power imbalance was real, but the experiment may not prove that anyone will automatically become cruel when handed a uniform. It may prove something more complicated. People respond to expectations, they follow leaders, they perform roles they believe are required, and harmful systems do not create themselves. Someone designs the rules, rewards certain behavior, and decides when to look away. If you enjoy true stories where the accepted version is only the beginning, subscribe to OpenVerdict. The Stanford Prison Experiment is remembered as a warning about what power can do to ordinary people. Its darker warning may be what happens when an authority figure creates cruelty, calls it research, and becomes too involved to stop it.